Welcome to Hayden Winter Outdoors. I'm Hayden Winter. Now today we're going to follow on from our previous video about releases. I'm going to get a bit more involved in each particular release. Today I'm going to talk about the index style release. So the index style release is often referred to as the beginner release or the hunter's release. Now there's advantages and disadvantages to an index. So a lot of the advantages, which I have actually started to swing back, this is my current release I'm using, is an index style release. Because I'm mainly focusing on hunting. Now, a lot of the advantages that I like about an index style release is that they are very basic in their operation. They are very basic in their construction, and generally they're very hard for something to go wrong on. Now, the other thing is releases get expensive. Big thing that I've already lost one hinge release before. Now, a lot of these releases these days are now starting to creep up to $500-600 Australian. I don't know what that is in American. It's probably more like $300-400. An index style release is strapped to you. You essentially can't lose it unless you take it off. And I always recommend if you take it off, it goes straight onto your bow. That way you can't lose it. The amount of stories I hear about people losing thumb buttons and hinges in the bush, I think everyone's done it at least once nearly. And if you haven't yet, you probably will. The other thing I like about the index style release, especially for beginners, is I've seen a lot of these handheld releases end up hitting people's bows because they've been let go due to fatigue, sweat, or just people still learning. And on the release, they are letting go of this and it is flying into their bow. Seen that multiple times and it's never pretty. Often damages the bow or the release or both. And with the cost of things being this high these days, we don't want none of that. Now, the other thing I like is that I find the index style releases very hard to misfire. Once you bury your finger behind there, it's virtually, unless for some reason something comes over the top, hits that trigger and overpowers your finger, it's virtually impossible to misfire these things. Thumb buttons, I've seen plenty of misfires, too many. So that's something else to think about especially when you're a beginner. Now, the other thing I like is it is very easy and quick, especially in a hunting series, to quickly just put this on your D-loop and you're ready to go. Unlike a thumb button, where often there's a keeper, and once the adrenaline's pumping, first thing to go is your fine motor skills, and often trying to get this keeper on your D-loop can be quite difficult. You sit there stuffing around trying to get it on your D-loop. Next thing you know, you've missed 3 or 4 times. You're getting frustrated. Whereas these tend to always have a hook of some sort. You do also get the clamp-on ones, but it's generally a big opening so you can clamp straight onto your D-loop. Now, the other thing I like, especially about the index style releases, especially the smaller ones, is the head on them is particularly small. I have a big buffy head. It's hard enough trying to get everything out the way where I'm not putting face tension on things. When there's a little head and it's sitting out the way of my face, it's quite easy so I don't hit it or add face pressure. While on that, the only other thing that's rarely touching is my finger, my index finger, and that's touching my face. Whereas if you look at like a thumb release, there is my whole hand, backside of my hand is now touching and getting influence to the release. Some of these bigger ones, I know guys love them. I personally don't like the bigger head style releases at all because my face tends to get in the way and I tend to put face. These are all big considerations, especially if you have a beard or something like that. I would steer clear of your bigger index style releases. Now, the big thing that drew me away from index style releases in the beginning is they would tend to be on the cheaper side. They'll consider the beginner's release or like a hunting style release. And I thought not as much finesse went into them and their construction. But with new styles like these Solexes from Stan, the trigger on them is just as crisp as at the top of the range Ultra View. It is very hard these days to find and beat, in my personal opinion, an index style release. You have all the advantages, and I think once you learn how to use this properly, most of the disadvantages disappear. Now, the disadvantages I find are these tend to be quite easy to punch. You can slap the trigger on these more easily than most of the other ones. Now, Once you get the process of hooking your finger in deep and pulling with back tension, they are quite a good release to use in both hunting and target. You can get back tension style releases that emulate a index style release, which will help you with that control of that back tension. Now, you can start off at the cheap end and you can go all the way up to quite expensive, sort of $300 Australian. I've actually found in the middle there at about $200, the Stand Solex being one of the best. It has unlimited travel in its adjustment, which allows you to steal a little bit of draw length as well. So if you're thinking about a release, or you only got a sort of cheap standard index style release in your bow kit, don't believe all the hype and don't believe all the YouTube stars who are going straight to thumb button release. They're very expensive. They're easily lost. And I think these days, the trigger on these index style releases are just as good these days. If you can get this to shoot well, it will shoot just as well as these do. Now it comes up to you again, down to you again, sorry. It's really about your process of using back tension that's going to make the world of difference. Now, there are different brands. The big brands you're going to hear of, just so you can keep your eye out there. Spot Hog, Stand, B3. Carter make one, which this is a Carter, even though it's laid knock on, and a Scott. If you're looking through your shop, I always say stick with the main brands. It's hard to go wrong that way. Steer away from Chinese copies. I've tried them. To be honest, they're garbage. So support the companies that support this industry and make sure you stick with a branded index style release. Cheers, guys. Thanks for listening. You got any questions at all, shoot me a message. I'll try and answer them as quick as I can. Have a good one.